right, let's just jump right into the everybody keeps asking about the Courthouse Square property. Where are we and what are we looking at there?
Still not where it needs to be. Construction prices are very high. I don't know if we have achieved the right mix on what should go back there, but we're still working through that process. And I don't see it being resolved in the next 2 to 3 months. I thought we would be further ahead, but again, not to beat a dead horse, but if it's not absolutely drop dead perfect, then we're going to wait until it's absolutely drop dead perfect. So that's where we are right now. You got one shot, and so you got to make sure that's a good shot, and you got to make sure not only does it look pleasing, but does it advance Anderson County? Does it advance downtown Anderson? And it has to hit all of those high marks. It can't be just we put a building in a hole and look at it, because that defeats the whole purpose. So it's a weighty decision and one that council doesn't take lightly. And I think it will have a major impact on what happens downtown in the future. And the downtown's coming back, and I think that's good. I think this could be a huge shot in the arm. There are a whole lot of roads that need to be fixed. I'm happy to say that a lot of road work is getting done, but it's being done by the state. It's being done by the Anderson County Transportation Commission, and it's being done by Anderson County. But there's a whole lot more that needs to be done. But you talked about the car fee. Well, the car fee, after about 15 public hearings in every part of the county, one of the themes that kept recurring is that with the exceptions you have for people over 64 and other ones, you're going to get $4 million. And you are telling us, the public, that $4 million would be a great help, but it would not solve everything completely. And then a lot of people said, well, we all agree, in just about every meeting we went to, everybody said, our roads are horrible, we need to do something. But it kept becoming a constant theme, and even from people who would be exempt said, well, we don't want to be exempt, we just want the roads fixed. And you shouldn't be creating special classes. And then the other thing is why don't you put this before the people and let them vote on it? And so there is a mechanism in state government called a penny transportation tax, sales tax. And if you put that on, you would raise a great deal of money, and you could possibly even sunset that quicker, or sunset that in 4 or 5 years. You could define when you were going to do it, but you would have more than enough money to fix every road in Anderson County and bring it up to the highest standards. I'm talking about $30 million. And again, 30% at a minimum would be paid for by people who don't live in Anderson County. But they do use our roads. And it pretty democratic way of doing things. Let the people decide in a referendum if they want this. The soonest that referendum could take place would be in the presidential election in 20. And it gives people plenty of time to look. We pretty much know all the roads that need to be fixed, but we might want to do, council may want us to do a study to get it even more in detail, because when we go, or if they request people to go to the polls, they need to see what they're getting, as opposed, we need a bunch of money and we promise you we're going to pave roads. Well, the money would be restricted to paving roads, but also fixing bridges and things like that. So that's where the lean seems to be right now, and I think that might be something that's more palatable to the public.
And I think something sometimes people miss when we start talking about the roads and infrastructure fixes is, in the past, over the last really 25 years, we haven't been able to put together any kind of plan, because we can't plan for the future because we don't even have the money for the present.
No. I mean, when you came out of 2008, and you were, in essence, that was the bottom, and then you crawled out for the next 5 or 6 years, you were primarily trying to keep the doors open and the potholes patched and the garbage picked up and provide law enforcement services. Well, we're not in those days anymore, but we're still having to catch up. And council hasn't raised taxes. Well, they raised them one year, but the year before they had dropped it by $1 million. Have we enjoyed the growth that's occurring in the county? Absolutely we have. To say that we haven't, but where did that money go? Well, a lot of that money's gone into public safety, increasing the pay for the deputies that council felt was vitally important, increasing the pay for the detention workers who work in horrible conditions at the jail. So that's where those monies are going. and purchasing new vehicles and things like that. They're not going for frivolous items.
And
I
when
think you will see that the sheriff has increased patrol all across the county. I was at a public meeting in Homeland Park 2 weeks ago, and they were very pleased, at least the people attending that meeting, with the coverage they were receiving. I know the people in the Powdersville area are appreciating the increased coverage. So I think the effort with the council and the sheriff, I think that's paid off. We have a lot more to do, but I think we're going in the right direction.
and the growth you're talking about, the population growth has also required a lot of increase in services because we've got more people to serve.
Well, you got more people. I mean, you have more people, you got more stuff going to the landfill. You got more stuff you have to pick up. People want more services. We have more buildings to inspect. We have more land use issues coming in. We have more people who want jobs. So it builds on itself. And are there problems with growth? Yes, there will be. But it's better than being in Allendale County and you're wondering why I can't get a job and there's nobody left here to work. So I'd rather have my choice. Well, I'll take where we are.
I'm going to get back to the jobs in a minute. One of the questions I hear a lot out there, Rusty, is how much cooperation is there between the city and the county in getting things done?
I think that right now it is probably as good as it can be. I mean, I talk to the city manager, David McEwen, on a regular basis. We did the project with them on the hotel. We did the project on South Anderson with them. We have other projects under consideration that we're doing with them. I think it's just wonderful myself. And, well, the Christmas tree lighting. You know, I think we're going to have the city become a bigger part in that. And just even little small things. About 5 or 6 years ago, we received a huge donation from Tri-County Tech when they got out of the culinary business, and received a call this week from the city and said, y'all still have that equipment? I said, yeah, we did. They said, well, we might have a use for it. I said, well, if you have a use for it and you can open up a cooking school or a kitchen or something like that, we would be delighted to work with you. So I think they're great. You'd have to ask the city how they feel, but I think it's just great. I think our cooperation with all of our towns is great. We've been engaged in economic development projects with the town of Pendleton, still are. Done a lot of work over with West Pelzer, pleased about that. Work that we are doing with Belton, very pleased about that. And the work we've been doing in Pelzer, and even though Powdersville is not a town, the work we've been doing there. So we touch every town in some way, shape, or form. At our finance committee meeting today, donating a vehicle to the Belton for animal control. And so we do things like that all the time. So those people who live in those towns, they're Anderson County citizens too, so they need to be treated just the same as everybody else.
And there's been a lot of challenges with growth too, and the county has had to help with the growth in some of these areas and
well, it's
facilitate.
been a tremendous amount of growth, and that's the only reason that we exist is to make people's lives better. There is no other reason for county government or any government to exist but to try to collectively help people with what we're supposed to do.
All right. What about the sign on the Georgia line? How is that coming along? Where we stand on that?
Well, right there, we're still looking at the price. I think it's around $100,000. We received a cost for landscaping that was way out of line. Now, I want it to look like $9 million, but we're readjusting and bringing that landscaping in-house. So we're getting very close to that. Council's already allocated the money for that. So
we were talking about good news and lots of work and lots of stuff here. What are some of the challenges that come with the record 1.7% unemployment rate? That's as low as we've ever been.
That's as low as we've ever been. But let's look at this. Hedro in Belton, okay? They laid off almost 200 people, closing that plant entirely. Our economic development group went in cooperation with the city of Belton and everybody else. We went to the Armory in Belton, and we had representatives from Michelin, Arthrex, and all of those people there. Those people didn't expect to lose their jobs, but we had people there who are in Anderson County, and again, Michelin, Arthrex, a whole bunch of other companies, and I don't mean to slight anybody, but we had them there with all of the employees from Hedro taking applications that day. And those people, when we left there that day, and again, give all credit to Terry Gilstrap, Burris, and Lauren, all those people who put it together. They had hope, but they didn't have, well, things will get better, old buddy. It was like, there's a real person right there, and they really need somebody to come to work tomorrow. And obviously, you've worked at Hedro, and you've been there for 15 years. We're pretty sure if we hire you, you're going to show up and work with us. So that's why you have to keep going, because you never know when something's going to close. You never, ever, ever know.
What role has Tri-County Tech and the new Anderson Institute of Technology played in this kind of growth and
It's
preparedness?
invaluable. We're so far ahead of everybody else. Our Tri-County Tech group works with us every day. I mean, we're doing something with them every day. The technical high school and their relationship with Tech, that's something that nobody else has. And now, plugging into the mix is our TTI facility that we now own in the county. We're going to put a small business incubator out there. We're going to put a soft landing zone. We actually have people in that building now. And so that's going to be a wonderful resource for Anderson County. And it's just going to be right there. On that one road, you can pretty much go to school, go to college, and find a job, or come in and let us help you create your own job and start your own business. And all that's going to be right in that area. So that's real exciting.
And I was going to ask you about that, the old Singer building, the TTI building. What explain what a soft landing zone, what else is going on in that
Soft
building?
landing company, and we've got people doing that right now. Company wants to come in, but they want to get a jump start on manufacturing, or they want to train some workers. So we'll work with Tri-County Tech, Job Service, and they will actually bring some machines into a soft landing area and start training employees while they're building their building. Because this day and time, you don't want any downtime in manufacturing. You want to get it and go. But we're doing that. That's what a soft landing zone is. It gives you a leg up. We're working with the company right now, a really nice company that's going to employ a whole bunch of people. And they said, we need 6 offices so we can, secure our supply lines and begin interviewing people for jobs. So because we have that TTI building, we will be able to do that and do it in fine style.
So that building was a real addition for the county. And
We have no money in the purchase of that building. They also gave us the TTI building in Pickens, which we sold at a handsome profit that will be plowed back into other projects in Anderson County. But hopefully, the Sheriff's Department is going to move lock, stock, and barrel. As you know, they're separated in 4 buildings now. They could integrate themselves in that building, have the soft landing zone, move our Public Works Department over there, move our emergency preparedness over there, move our EMS over there, and all of that would be in that location, and we would still have room left over. And we have all of that land that we have for growth. That's where we're going to put our shop. And we're in the process now of the new automotive facility for all vehicles in Anderson County. Plus, we do a lot of work for a lot of towns in the county. It's a great relationship that we have because we have more purchasing power than they do. Pelzer, we do their tires. It works out great for them. They get a better deal. Taxpayers in Belton, who are also Anderson County taxpayers, get a better deal. So those things we try to do to keep prices down for everybody.
Yeah, people forget about those little things when they see a county truck or a police car or something, their sheriff's car. They don't realize somebody's having to take care of that thing.
Yeah. And what we've had so far, we couldn't even park equipment. Our people were literally working in the rain on equipment, and it was a horrible situation. I think we will save money by having this shop.
We talk about growth, and we mentioned a while ago. What's the latest on the growth in Pendleton? It seems to really be accelerating.
I talked to one of their councilmen the other night, and they are happy and pleased. And the strategy was, from the beginning, was to develop Clemson Boulevard, and that tax base would fund the rehabilitation of downtown. And if you haven't been to Pendleton lately, it is transforming itself, and people are moving in left and right, and people are happy about it. So all of that is working well, and I think Pendleton's very pleased. Do they have growing pains? Yes, they do. Everybody does around here, but again, I mentioned before that we're working with the City of Clemson, Pendleton, and Anderson County to upgrade a sewer treatment facility up there that will allow growth to occur in that entire area. So we're working hard on that. We're putting together an agreement on how big it's going to be, how it's going to be operated, and everything like that. But it's stupid to have 3 separate treatment plants when you can have one. And you can achieve economies of scale by doing that operation. So I think it's just a win-win for all three entities involved.
Anderson County, we have the new voting machines like the rest of the state, but I think we're the first county to also add an additional security factor to those machines that we'll be using in the elections.
But we're very proud about that. But people, I think sometimes people take, I'm going to go vote, and they just think, well, I'm going to go there and they're going to vote. That's a huge operation to do that. And that's where democracy starts, is right there when you go cast your vote. And dadgum, you want to make it sure that your vote counts. And I still do not like electronic voting machines. And this is a step in the right direction where there is, if you have a recount, you can actually recount something as opposed to hit the button on the computer and it puts out the same information. And I'm not the only person who feels that way. They're national organizations saying, if I can hack into a company, I can certainly fix that little voting machine. So I think this is a great fail-safe mechanism, because if you don't have confidence in your elections, then you're not going to have confidence in anything else the government does.
And Katie and the folks over there, that's a special group Anderson County has. I've watched them over the last two big general elections. I'm talking about help senior citizens who own canes or needed to sit down, walk them through machines. It's very unusual to see that in voting sort of situations.
Well, they do an excellent job in providing service to people, and we encourage and assist them in any way that we can. As you know, their board is appointed by the Anderson County Legislative Delegation, but we work very closely with them in we pay for the rent on the building, the upfit on the building, and a lot of other things that we assist them with.
Airport terminal still under construction. I guess we're waiting on construction workers still.
About 85% as of Saturday when I was out there. So we're looking now, not December, but January, early February for completion.
And what will that do, having that new terminal there? What will that do for the airport?
Well, it's going to be a real terminal, and it's going to be a terminal that's ADA complete, and it's just going to give a different look to the airport, and I think people will be very happy about it. We're going to take the old building down because the old building meets no code of any type, and we got a number on how we could retrofit it. So it was almost like, we can put some lipstick over here, or we can have something nice. And I think it's going to change the layout. A lot of interest and a lot of activity at the airport, more corporate traffic continuing to come in, and some of the companies we're working with that haven't announced now, they're going to be bringing airplanes in. We're getting increased pressure for us to build hangars because they want to bring their planes here. So we're dealing with that. So again, it's growth, but it's not, there's nobody here. So,
but it's critical that we have that for corporate to be able to get in and out of here, and to not just us, but the region, they use it.
Yeah, the whole region. I mentioned before that all of those plants across the river in Georgia, those people are landing here. So, and we're happy to sell them jet fuel all day long.
I know they're going to talk about it here today, but the county council's looking at upgrading the website for the county.
Yeah, we're looking. Hopefully, we're going to do that. That's the way a lot of people get in touch with us. That's how they know us. That's where they see us in all over the world. And I think we just need to improve it and make sure it's cutting edge. And so hopefully we're going to be getting on that real quick.
Yeah, most corporates will talk about, I think you even had a presentation here from Appalachian Council of Government talking about they change theirs every 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
You have to keep people
interested. Keep people interested in using it, and you try to make it more user-friendly. And we have a lot of people who use our website. When
will county begin to announce the distribution of ATAX money?
Well, we have that. Today is November the 4th. We've already had the staff review on ATAX money. We've also had the Citizens Advisory review on ATAX money. It will go to the Finance Committee today, and hopefully next Tuesday, November, I forget the date, we'll have the final vote on the ATAX accommodation.
Soon.
And we could distribute that money to give the organizations that are asking for it plenty of time to put it to good use. I might add, that amount in the accommodations tax has grown because, as you know, that is a tax on hotel rooms. So we have new hotels that are under construction and that are built. So that pool of money is going to go up. And I'm pretty sure if you're renting a hotel room, 90% chance you're from out of town.
Remind people the difference between that tax and a potential hospitality tax.
Hospitality tax is 2% on prepared food and drink in the unincorporated areas of Anderson County. All the towns in the county already have it. But accommodations tax is hotel rooms.
Right, because people confuse those all the
Yeah,
time.
they do.
They do. Paws continues to grow. Any timetable for the new dog park out there?
As a matter of fact, last week our rate was 96%, keeping everybody alive, which is great. And construction on the dog park is beginning. You can actually see some equipment out there. It's going to be a slow process to do that, but that process is beginning. Should be this week.
And that park will be the hope to host parties out there and let people walk
Parties,
dogs.
but also a chance for you to take your dog out to the dog park, but also a chance for us to show our animals out there and probably help them be in a little better shape and make it easier for us to adopt them, because that's the whole point and purpose.
Since we last met, Anderson University has announced a new football team with a shiny new stadium and everything. How will that benefit the county?
Well, I'm pretty sure it'll put more people in hotel rooms, and I'm pretty sure it'll bring a whole lot of traffic. I think that's absolutely amazing that they're going to do that. And I think that will be pretty neat for Anderson County to have its own college football team. And I think it's going to surprise some people on the interest that it's going to get. And, Erskine is going to start football, and Presbyterian no longer offers scholarships for football. In the conference they're talking about going into, I think that could be pretty good. But you think of another thing, with that new ruling about the likeness of a college football player, I think that's going to radically redefine college football as we know it in the big time level. I think it's going to really boost this other level, small college football, back to what it used to be. But then I don't have a crystal ball. That's just me thinking.
Is a college football team another one of those economic development markers you can show people when they're coming to look at?
Yeah. You can show that. Look, now, they already have a great basketball program, baseball program, soccer, all the sports. And the other sports they're adding over there, like lacrosse and things like that. And you have football, you've got it all covered. And you have a football team, you're probably going to carry around 70 people on that football team. So that's some more mamas and daddies and brothers and sisters who are going to be oriented towards Anderson University, City of Anderson, and Anderson County. That's a big time deal.
And you've told me before that when you bring somebody in here from one of their top three things, and sometimes it jumps to the top, is quality of life issues.
We can be more selective on who comes to Anderson County. And if somebody just comes in on their own, we can't help that, But our goal is always to increase that wage. From 10 years ago, it was around $12.50. Now it's almost $20. We want it to get higher. And it doesn't look like anybody's suffering either. And all of these companies coming in, all of our smaller companies, to a great degree, are supplying them. So everybody's getting happy.
And speaking of that quality of life, Green Pond seems to be booked like every weekend and about one national tournament a month or event a month.
Today's the 4th. This week, we're having another Bassmaster event out there. People coming from all over the world, not just next door, but from all over the world, and they're going to be at Green Pond. But you're right, there's something going on there just about every weekend. I went out there this weekend just to check on the construction we have going on out there. And Saturday, it wasn't a tournament, but there sure were a lot of people out there fishing. So it's doing everything it was supposed to do and more, and I only see better things coming from that.
Now, what is the next stage for development?
Well, hopefully we could begin an amphitheater out there, which I think would be great for fish weigh-ins, but I also think it would be a great venue for concerts. I think that would be ideal. And where we're looking at putting it would be pretty awesome to be sitting there looking at the lake and listening to music. And that's something that we don't have. But Green Pond has also caused interest. We're dealing with some people right now. Asbury Park is a beautiful campground. The Corps closed it. We just did a market study that shows that that would be viable. We have somebody who's literally beating the door down. Let me get in there and open that up. And then they're also talking about Andersonville Island and some of those other things. Things that you see on Lake Lanier, that you see on Lake Norman, and other lakes like that. Our lake is getting to that point where it would support a hotel or lodge in the Anderson area. And so that's exciting too. But Green Pond's the focal point for everybody going, yeah, that's Lake Hartwell. That's Lake Hartwell.
And remind people that may have forgotten, although we've said it 1,000 times, you have where the money came from to get.
A lot of it came from the PCB settlement, from a company that polluted Lake Hartwell forever and a day. We've gotten sport fisher grants, which are designed to improve fisheries. Most people only get one. We've gotten two. I'm pretty sure we may get a third one. We have an excellent relationship with South Carolina Department of Wildlife. They see what we're doing, so they support us all the time and work real hard with us to help that become a great facility. And I think it's the premier fishing facility in South Carolina. I know that, but I also think it is one of them in the Southeast, and there's some pretty stiff competition out there.
Speaking of parks, what's the latest on KidVenture 2.0?
Hopefully, they're doing some paving work out there in the next day or two and beginning that process. We've collected more money, we've allocated more money, and I'm hoping next spring that we're going to have something that people can see. It's going to be ADA. You mentioned earlier about us cooperating with the city. The city's coming to the table with big time money and not one time money to help us with that. So we think that's going to be fabulous. I wish it was built today, but we're getting there. But then I wish everything was done today anyway.
Well, speaking of wishing everything was done today in parks, where is council in evaluating the county's 37 parks? Is there any hope of finding funding to improve or repair or increase the
One of the
accessibility?
things we did is we did an inventory and evaluation of all of our parks. Some of our parks were in conjunction with other groups. Case in point, the park in Townville. We were doing that with the school district. Well, the school district would really just rather they do that. So that's one less park that we're going to do. We've looked at some other parks that get no use. So let's don't put any money in those parks that are just there and put money in parks that are there. We're fixing to do a tremendous amount of work on Broadway Lake on building 2 walls down there that's really going to change the way that looks. But we have other plans down there to remove some of those old structures and clean that park area, Haney Park and those parks down there, and really dress that up. Because Broadway Lake's getting a lot of attention these days. A lot of attention. They now have that restaurant there that's open, and they're putting a lot of money in the golf course down there. So that's an area that we're keeping an eye on, and we need to assist to help develop and grow. That's after we spend $1 million making sure the dam didn't burst.
Yeah, that was the first things first.
Yes.
Have we looked at a Stephen King sponsorship for Mountain View Park? It's the creepiest park in all of Enterprise. It's also the only place we touch a body of water that nobody knows that we touch.
Mountain View Park has always been at the very bottom of the county. It's not easy to get to. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's on Lake Russell. It is quiet, but everything that we've ever put down there has been destroyed. Everything. It is so isolated. And no matter what we put down there, we're trying to make it a bulletproof, you can't tear up park. But if people don't know about it, but you go down there, it's on Lake Russell. And as you know, there's no development on Lake Russell. You get out on that lake, and you're not looking at houses or anything else. You're just looking at beautiful, beautiful scenery.